Wizards of the Coast is purposefully not reprinting expensive cards at this point, right? I recently bought a playset of Ancient Tombs to go play some Paper Legacy and realized there's been a big price discrepancy recently than what they were historically. As with many cards over time, the price of them increases as we don't see reprints, especially in sets we expect them to. And in today's video, I wanted to rehash the whole proxy debate through the lens of a lack of reprints, go over some specific examples, and go over a bit of a rant between a price discrepancy in Canadian versus US prices. All of that in this video to come. Just before you get into it, let me know what you think about the rising prices of just cards that don't get reprinted. What is the ultimate plan here? Do we need to constantly keep coming up with new Magic cards, or can we just reprint at least some of the ones that are out there that have just been blowing up in terms of being a staple? Someone recently on r/EDH said my 2 cents on the whole proxy thing. And he said, I saw a 5-color player, a Wooburg player, sit down with a mana base that had 10 proxied OG duels and maybe an additional 10 proxied fetch lands. Shout out to them. That's 20 out of their probably 30 to 40 lands. That actually, honestly, that's actually kind of insane. I don't even know if this is actually how I would build a Wooburg mana base, but shout out to them. My first thought upon seeing it wouldn't necessarily be, I wish they wouldn't proxy it, but it would be that I wish they didn't have to proxy it. And honestly, yes, if we were actually legitimate human beings that didn't want to, you know, the downfall of everyone else in a serious sense, then yes, this would be the same thought we have. And I think people need to get behind that. It's my go-to whenever people sound off about proxies. Shocks aren't enough to make an effective Wooburg mana base, even with fetches and especially budget ones. Okay, this I would disagree with. Shocks aren't enough to make an effective Wooburg mana base. That's okay. I think we're missing some of our facts here. Imagine you built the first sliver everyone said was really powerful and fun, and then you discover he can't overcome 6 turns of lands and budget fetches entering tapped and not drawing your 3 mana Chromatic Lantern. You'd be utterly disappointed. Okay, but that's like, it's not just Chromatic Lantern. There are, you know, now with triomes, with like mana confluences and stuff like that, there's so many ways that we can build 5-color mana bases. You don't need to fetch into them. You can just play a critical mass of them. There's ramp spells. Like, there's budget ways to actually build good Wooburg mana bases, right? Like, I just hope this person understands that. There are some fascinating Wooburg commanders out there, and about the only time I see them played efficiently is in online environments where fiscal costs do not apply. And that's fair too. I think like the whole idea behind proxies is it's a twofold thing, right? Firstly, you have the people that are saying, why? I have to buy my cards, why shouldn't you? Which is the same group of people that are like, I had to be poor, I had to suffer, why shouldn't you suffer? Right? And it's the same type of people, right? It's every time you bring up like loan forgiveness with school and everything, everyone's like, you know, I had to pay my dues, why shouldn't you? And it's just the people bringing society down. It's just a dumb opinion, all right? Like, it's not actually an opinion that wants to like better society. So that's like one part of it. I had a recent bit about this with my friend where he's actually relatively new to Magic, and he had what I would consider an extremely wrong opinion. I feel bad for him because he's a little in his head with this one, where he says, you know, I said, me personally, when it comes to proxies, especially him that just is getting into Commander and Magic, as I mentioned, I don't care about proxies. I want to play against the person, and especially in a casual environment, I want to just play the game and enjoy the game the way I want to enjoy it, the way they want to enjoy it. I just want to play the game. But when it comes to a competitive REL environment where we played money, where we have signed a virtual contract that may not be done in paper, where we played a Wizards of the Coast rules, Wizards of the Coast does not want proxies in those REL environments. So fair, we have to buy the cards. I'd be pretty mad if you proxied a card in that environment. Maybe a little bit less so in like F&M depending on the environment, but probably still like, you know, we're paying money to do this. In a casual Commander environment, proxy should be perfectly fine. And what that friend of mine did was say, wait a second, no, I don't agree with that. I paid for the cards, why shouldn't you? And I'm like, that's really interesting. Let's deconstruct that. Why in a casual environment where there is no prizes to be had, there is nothing to be gained but a good time, there's nothing positive to be gained but a good time, what do you have to gain by policing someone else's ability to play the game and enjoy themselves in a casual environment? You go to the LGS, it is a Commander night you don't have to play for. It's a great environment, ton of people are there. What do you gain by policing a person that has a proxy? I have proxies of commons back there because I have 5 or 6 of my decks out of 10 that are full proxy. They're full proxy, and I'm being straight up about them. Some of them aren't, and some of them, even the ones that aren't full proxy, have like 1 to 2 proxies of like expensive cards, right? Some of them are proxy because I don't have them, or actually most of them are proxy because I don't have them, and some of them are proxy because I don't want to get multiple copies of the same card. Like I have like 2 Watery Graves, they're both in my Modern Mill deck. I'm not buying more Watery Graves. I'm going to proxy the Watery Grave. If you get stuck up with me, I'll go drive home and get my Modern Mill deck to show you I have a copy of Watery Grave. And so this is the one side of the take where it is money related, right? It is someone who has this dissonance with the idea that your enjoyment of the game is being held back by someone's purchasing power. Someone's financial situation in life is holding you back from enjoying the game. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because you suffered in terms of spending your hard-earned money to get something, which was in this situation actually a choice made, right? Especially once you play the game a little bit more, right? It is a choice to buy all these cards, and he himself actually doesn't have a lot of expensive cards. He's bought some of a lot of product in Final Fantasy because he really likes that IP. He got into it. He bought the Commander decks, and he wants to build a Xenos deck and everything. He is stuck in the idea that he had to buy all this product that isn't necessarily going all into like one deck. Why shouldn't someone else have to buy product? Again, in a casual environment, ask yourself this: what do you have to gain by policing someone and their happiness in an environment where the only thing you can actually gain is a good time? The only thing you can be better from is just a good time. Everything else is just like negative, right? Like, why are we doing that? Now, the second scenario that the proxy haters will talk about is support for the institution, right? So support for Wizards of the Coast and the LGS. And so there is some level of this to which you can concede to. There are people out there that don't play Commander. They play Constructed, so they'll be purchasing packs through Sealed. They'll be purchasing maybe pre-releases. They'll be purchasing things at events. They might be buying into other decks, in which case they might buy into a brand new deck and have to go buy singles, which support the LGS. The LGS has to buy the product to open the singles to even get those or trade into them. And so there's already an ecosystem being fed into them. I highly recommend in all these scenarios that you go play your pre-releases, buy a Commander deck or two, buy like a product or two, buy a pack or two, and get involved in the ecosystem. When you're supporting your LGS, you don't even need to buy singles necessarily. A lot of people talk about in my comment sections that Commander players are the ones that actually buy the most singles. So if that's actually true, and you are the one person that is proxying and not buying singles, then you can also support your LGS by buying some other products that they have, whether it be some funky dice, some funky counters, or maybe go to the fridge and go to get a drink or get a cookie or something that they're selling and support the LGS that way. There are many different ways that you can support your local game store and Wizards of the Coast directly. And trust me, I'm going to be honest here, the vast majority of us probably don't even need to think about actively supporting Wizards of the Coast. With the way Final Fantasy is selling and the way Secret Lairs are selling and the way like all of these random cash grabby ways things are selling, the people watching this video don't even need to think about it. Some whale out there is supporting Wizards all on their own. $200 million in one day? Come on, folks. We don't need to think about that. There are people out there that are dying to the FOMO and wanting to buy these products. So those are the two counterpoints that I have. People hate proxies because they had to suffer themselves. Boo-hoo. You're a loser for that opinion. Second of all, if you want to support Wizards of the Coast and the LGS, there are many ways that you can support your LGS through its ecosystem. You can go through and enjoy various parts of Magic by creating some diversity in your level of play, aka maybe going to play some limited, maybe going to play some pre-release, and you can also buy other product from your LGS. And also when it comes to Wizards of the Coast, you're doing this anyway by watching the content that other content creators put out. You're doing this anyway by, watching through their ads. You're doing this anyway by telling your friends about Magic because someone down the chain will go spend $300 like my friend did on various Commander decks and go support Wizards of the Coast that way. They got in their money. Wizards of the Coast will get it. So the whole proxy debate, I feel like just gets shut down at a casual level. There is no anti-argument to it at a casual level. When it comes to running competitive events and the whole long-term trend that a lot of people have spoken about, how their LGS has just turned into Commander-focused places and how, the constructed environments have tapped out, or I keep saying constructed to denote 1v1. I will admit to the fact that I've been doing this a lot in recent videos, but it's not completely true. Commander is constructed, and I should be specific in the fact that 1v1 constructed environments have been seeing a bit of a downtrend. So there you go. Before someone angrily says to me in the YouTube comments, I'm admitting it there. The 1v1 constructed environments have been seeing less play all throughout in various different scenarios, and this is due to various reasons. You might see, the fact that Pioneer doesn't have an RCQ season. There's no reason to grind Pioneer. Why play Pioneer? We just had Scapeshift be a very cool new deck that's come out in Pioneer, but you can't even play it on Arena because Crumbling Vestige is not a card on Arena. So how do we even have a full Pioneer format? Not only have digital sales through Arena seen a slight dip, but we can barely go on and play the Pioneer or the format that we want to play that you're talking about because no one's playing that format and you don't even have access to all the cards. Great. So that's one thing about constructed. The other thing is about prize support and getting actually, people in shares. It's a lot easier to access Commander than it is a lot of these other events, and it's hard to do so if Wizards of the Coast doesn't have good reprints for their cards. When Mox Opal was unbanned, what was the reprint policy for that? We just ejected thousands of dollars worth of cards into the card pool, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of card pool into a format. So many Mox Opals flying everywhere in terms of value increasing in price. And I'm saying this as someone who had to recently buy their first and only copy of Mox Opal for some painter legacy shenanigans. And it was an expensive one, but thankfully the vast majority of my purchase was kind of handled by store credit. So I'm thankful for that, but some of it still came out of the wallet regardless. When it comes to reprints, I think that is the big thing harming the whole proxy debate. That is where I'm ultimately leading up to. There are common counter arguments to the primary ones people put forward to stop proxies and stop the play and how people hate them. But really, it comes down to accessibility. When it comes down to people playing less 1v1 constructed, they feel a lot of formats are expensive. When it comes to standard, they've tried to increase the rotation of those formats to about 3 years. And so you feel like you have access to your cards for longer. But that doesn't mean that things don't change through bans, things don't change through formats and new powerful cards being injected. Right now, everyone's talking about Quantum Riddler, which has slowly become one of the more expensive cards out there right now. And I'm going to be talking about that in a video tomorrow. But really, when it comes down to powerful cards, these cards obviously rise up in price. And yeah, Quantum Riddler, it just came out in a recent set. It's going to be expensive. You're not going to reprint it right now. It's in print right now. But when it comes to long-term availability of certain cards, I think that's where it gets ridiculous because people start to see that formats become inaccessible and they want to play them less because it feels like not only do my cards change through Modern Horizon sets and ban waves that I can't play a deck for long term, but also it feels like it's hard enough for me to even pay into playing these decks. So the first thing I want to mention is, again, how I started this video. So I tweeted out, Mill for life, I'm finally a paper legacy player. So about 90 to 95% of this, 1,000, actually it's more than this. I paid it was a total of $1,500. All right. So I have no reserve list in this deck. Right. I didn't get the soul land that sacrifices itself when another land enters. Someone in the comment section let me know the name of it, but it's about 1,500, right? With the Mox Opal and some other stuff. So I store credited 90% of that purchase, which is great. So this is a big price tag and very few people can do this. I want to acknowledge that. The fact that I tweeted this out, this is an expensive price tag and very few people can do this. I should also note that these are Canadian prices. These are Canadian prices. These are not USD, right? People talking about how, why Furies are $8.99 each. They're like $4 US, sure. But when it came to Ancient Tombs, one thing that I wasn't really thinking about was I was thinking the whole time, Ancient Tombs are reserve list, right? The Ancient Tomb has to be a reserve list card. But I wasn't making the connection with the fact that very obviously they literally reprinted Ancient Tomb. So it's going to become cheaper. So I'm going to buy it now. But Ancient Tomb 100% has to be on the reserve list, right? Why else wouldn't they print it in a regular set? I just wasn't making the connection, right? I was just like, oh my God, I have expensive Magic cards. This has to be a reserve list card. But Ancient Tomb, as I mentioned, is not a reserve list card. It was printed in goddamn Ultimate Masters, right? And so when you look at the price history of this card, right? If you go on MTG stocks, this card right now, through the moon, it's about $100 average. $100 average. The graph keeps going up behind me. But at a time when even I was playing, this is when I just started playing Magic right here. This is when I just started playing Magic, roughly around here. $10 a copy. Oh my God. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you bought 100 Ancient Tombs? 100 Ancient Tombs? That'd be $900. That $900? Oh my God. Oh my God. You would 100x your spend. You would have 100x'd. You would 100x your spend in 10 years. That is the best stock. That is the best stock of all time. right? It's like the secondary market, the stock market brokering of Magic cards. Can you imagine? And you would obviously kind of extrapolate this further into other reserve list cards and the price of them right now, but oh Lord, I mean, they've gone. I mean, there was a time even here close to 2018 when they were like $50. They dipped all the way back down to 25, and now they've been on the steady rise. And a lot of people are saying, oh, maybe you should have waited. They just reprinted, they'll go down. Maybe they won't, maybe they will not, right? And I will be completely honest, like if they go down, whatever, right? I got them at a time when I had a ton of store credit. Maybe I could have saved some more money and store credit 100% of my purchase versus like 90% of it. But regardless, I'm pretty happy because this makes me happy that I was finally able to get a legacy deck that is fully functional. I don't necessarily need any reserve list cards whatsoever. It's just a bunch of expansion Magic cards put together to play some Painter. But with that price in mind, why has this card never been reprinted? If it's not reserve list, it's a soul land. I'm not saying we need to introduce this into Modern, because that would change so much. Introducing like an actual proper soul land into Modern that isn't Ugin's Labyrinth, that actually has a legitimate downside. This would be a soul land without a downside. 2 life is nothing. That's not a real downside. For all combo players, for all people trying to cheat out, you know, cards with mana cost, color and 2 or color and 3 or whatever it is, like that is a whole turn off. Ancient Tomb is a valuable Magic card. Why isn't this card being reprinted? Other than indirectly acknowledging the secondary market, why has this card only been reprinted as a bonus sheet card? Why is it always the special prints? Why don't we have other product ways to reprint this? Why don't we print this into a secret layer that is print on demand, right? So you just purchase as many Ancient Tombs as you want and just plummet the price of this card. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Because why do we treat Magic the Gathering like a stockbroker hobby? Why is it that these cards are treated in such a way that they are long-term investment pieces and we are scared of removing the value of so many people that play this game? Why is that a problem? This is a trading card game. Cards should have value, but they shouldn't have value to the point where they're inaccessible. The foil arts and the alternate treatments are a whole different discussion. Those should have premium prices. You should have to pay premium value for alternate art copies of new Ancient Tombs or alternate art copies of new One Rings or whatever it is. You shouldn't have to pay that much money for base copies. That's where the Mox Opal problem comes in. A card that was already $100 skyrockets up to probably double that, if not more. I mean, let's look it up right now. And more topics to discuss, but if we look up Mox Opal right now, right? This is when it was, oh my Lord, this is when it was unbanned. Yeah, it was like $80 to $90, literally doubled in price. So you're not seeing it behind my camera, but if we kind of hide my thing here, $80 right here, boom, literally $100 more overnight. This card was affordable, or more so, maybe even $80 is still a little bit much. Play sets like almost $300 something, $400 to even get a copy of this card. And this is USD. These are USD prices. Can you imagine? This is like $3 million Canadian. Okay, this is literally billions of dollars into the Canadian economy in terms of Magic the Gathering sellers. Why don't we have a good way to reprint these cards? Because we introduce a new Mox Jasper is in there, and yes, it's conditional. So we are open to introducing powerful versions of previous Magic cards, but with restrictions in them. So why don't we reprint Mox Opal into a standard set where there is minimal interaction with it? Why don't we do that? We've done that with plenty of cards. Look at Space Time Anomaly. We've introduced a mill card in one set to not break limited formats. Space Time Anomaly has no support. Zero negative support. Space Time Anomaly, a 4-mana mill card that cares about your starting life total that Wizards of the Coast gave me as a preview card. And then I look at the rest of the set and see there is no support for this card. And I have to then make content in a video about how I hope there's support coming down the line. But they only did that so that the limited environment doesn't fall apart, because in a 40 card constructed environment, you have to print the card at rare so that limited doesn't break, but also you can't print any more mill cards or else everyone's just going to build around mill. You don't want to print around life gain because then everyone's just going to play a control deck that's boring to play. So we print Space Time Anomaly in one set. We print Hope as Time in a format with no support for it either. Final Fantasy, no support for Hope as Time in that set either. A legendary 2-mana card that cares about mill and life gain. So we do this with cards already. We do this with mill already because casuals hate mill. Good players hate mill. There are plenty of examples of other Magic grinders, MTGO grinders, salting off. Y'all know who I'm talking about. We clipped them and everything. They're all pinned in the mill Discord of salting off on losing to mill. Everyone hates mill for some reason. And we build and limit whole set designs around mill. But we can't do that for Moxes? Mox Opal? Ancient Tomb? What is the actual design philosophy going into any of this? And then you have to think about, okay, yeah, Shaf, if you introduce these, then you have to limit the design of standard for 3 years. Great. Great. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Do that. Do that. Do that. So that not just standard is seeing the money being injected into it. If you want more people playing 1v1 constructed, make it accessible through the modality that you're already doing. You are already silo designing so many cards. Look at the Modern Horizons environment and how it's led to Boros Energy. Boros Energy in Modern is literally Modern Horizons 3 block constructed. 90% of that deck, I'm being facetious here, but the majority of that deck is just Modern Horizons 3 cards. It is just silo design. No other energy cards have been introduced into that from Aether Gust. Not really in a really long time. So why don't we do that already? The Modern Horizon set was an Eldrazi booster and an artifact booster. Why don't we introduce something like Mox Opal into a random standard set with no other support for it? Because it would break limited? How would it do that? People would open packs? Great. They would open up more Mox Opals. We could even introduce it at rare. Crazy idea. That would actually allow it to be in more boosters on average than if it was mythic. We could actually bring the price of Mox Opal down by putting it into a regularly printed standard set that isn't behind a Universes Beyond IP. We could actually bring the price of these cards down, but we refuse to do so because we do this with other cards. We're fine with it there. We can introduce a slow trickle of Mox Opal support, of Ancient Tomb support, but we refuse to do that because now instead of doing that and bringing legacy players and modern players into standard as a way to then take their staples that you already have or open and crack packs of these to then become available for other formats, or heck, crazy idea, do that while also making it so maybe Mox Opal becomes a standard in a standard store championship prize, standard store, a promo that players could win. Remember Urza Saga? Remember the Urza Saga promo that's like hundreds of dollars right now? The Urza Saga promo that does not really see that level of play in certain like in lower level formats and high level, modern, legacy, all that stuff. Crazy. And it was a promo. So why don't we do that with our promos while also introducing them into the set? There's no reason. We already do this with mill. We already take whole archetypes and balance them in such a way where other formats don't break, such as limited. Why don't we continue to do this with standard? You will not break standard if Mox Opal is singularly printed with no artifact support in it. Mox Opal is fast mana. If you don't print the support for it, the fast mana does not mean anything. The average deck cannot use Mox Opal. It is so hard. The average deck in Modern does not use Mox Opal with Mox Opal legal in it. There are so many ways to answer it, and there are very few ways to enable it without getting extreme value out of it. Mox Opal does nothing if it is not supported in a fast, aggressive way. Ancient Tomb does nothing if it's not supported in a fast and aggressive way. In a format like Standard that is a lot slower, Ancient Tomb, the 2 life actually does matter. You print Ancient Tomb into Pioneer, it's not going to do anything. Who the heck is playing Ancient Tomb in Pioneer when the Standard deck, aggro deck that just got banned out of the format is still literally just legal in Pioneer but taking over that format? Who is playing a place out of a land that takes 2 damage, that deals you 2 damage? Who's doing that? Nobody. The reprint policy of Wizards of the Coast is an absolute sham. There are multiple reasons why. I even want to bring up Lotus Petal. Pauper, staple, Eternal Magic staple, Lotus Petal. Pauper, like Lotus Petals, I bought my playset of Lotus Petals for all my combo decks in Pauper for $15 each, 15 Canadian dollars each. They are now on average $24. They are now on average $24. What? $24? They used to be, look at this. Look at this. Oh, right here. Sorry. $9, $10. What? Why are they these prices? Why are they these prices? And you know what I have? I have a bone to pick with face-to-face games, because I recently just found this out from people in the middle Discord talking back and forth. Face-to-face games is selling the One Ring, lowest value of the One Ring right now. Face-to-face games in Canada. I got a bone to pick. I wanted to buy the One Rings for my Red Black Painter deck, right? And I am currently playing the Agatha Soul Cauldron version because I only have one copy of the One Ring. Maybe I should have bought more when it originally got banned. Whatever. $120 for the lowest copy. 120 Canadian dollars is $87 USD right now. The Canadian dollar sucks, right? Why on TCG Player is the lowest copy 17 listings from $65? Market price at 60. The lowest copy of the One Ring 60. You know how much 60 USD is? 90 Canadian. That is almost $20 to $30 cheaper. Why am I being upsold like this? Why don't I have a US friend just buy me 3 copies of the One Ring and save almost $100? What is going on? First of all, the One Ring ain't never being reprinted for a long time. The IP rights to do this, I hope that person that is in charge of IP acquisition that they hired for Wizards of the Coast somehow solves this. But the One Ring is just going to continue to go up in price. But my bone to pick is even beyond reprints. Why is there such a big discrepancy between Canadian and US prices right now? And this isn't necessarily just a dig at face-to-face games. Maybe you have your own problems with them, whatever. They are my local game store. I trade them my cards. I go to them for events every so often. They're not maybe like close to me. They're just the ones that I go to for, you know, trading in my store credit and everything. So fine. I have a good history with them. I love a lot of the people that work there. Okay. They're great people. But when it comes to maybe the people that decide the prices of these, that's probably beyond them. Okay. So that's a different discussion. Let me just put that out there. But it just brings around to the fact that prices of Magic are absolutely insane right now. And people are arguing about the wrong thing. People are arguing about proxies. And how I had to pay for my Magic cards, why shouldn't you? And you should continue to support Wizards of the Coast. But the real problem is the fact that Magic continues to be inaccessible to many people. The reprint policies that Wizards of the Coast has are terrible, they're a slap in the face, and the current card prices that they have are literally just to support whales. I've talked about this ad nauseum, pun intended, through other videos talking about the current secret layer direct-to-consumer singles market, as well as the whole print to demand versus, just FOMO model that they have for them as well. There are so many things going on with Wizards acquisition model, but they're making hand over fist in terms of money. I can rant about this, but we won't have a solution. There are going to be people inevitably in my comments that tell me I complain all the time, but I am complaining for you as a content creator, as a voice for Magic the Gathering, as an MTG ambassador. I am doing what no other ambassador cares to do. They don't want to. The Commander and cosplayer MTG ambassadors do not want to talk about this because they are going to lose money and opportunities from Wizards of the Coast if they do. If I lose those opportunities, I will take the L. But I am trying to be a good content creator and fight for reprints for you. I am trying to highlight this for you as someone who Wizards of the Coast actively wants to work with. I have folks like Pleasant Kenobi and sometimes Spice 8 Rack and Tolarian Community College as who I see the regular people that regularly fight against Wizards of the Coast and actively criticize them to their varying degrees. Why can't other content creators do it? And why is it when they do, y'all are in my comments telling me I'm complaining too much? And yes, sometimes I do. I'm happy that you call me out. I'm happy you call me out in those situations. But in a situation like this, can we all agree that there is a fundamental problem here? Can we all agree that it is worth voicing our opinion on something like this? And it's not just me complaining when I want this game to be more accessible. I want it to be cheaper. I want more people to play more Magic at a lower cost. Why is that a problem? Again, no other content creator that is an MTG ambassador at least is doing this right now. No one else is on this scale. So I am the only one that is trying to be a voice for these people. I post regular gameplay videos. I post regular yaps, regular rants like this. I do my Magic thing. I post so much positive Magic content. It just doesn't get the views. So now I have to come on here and rant about prices and Commander product. I probably have to title this something related to Commander to even get the views so people watch this. If you're this far in the video, please let me know. Timestamp it. Let me know if you're like 30 minutes into the video. I would love to see the amount of people that actually watch this through all the way to the end. That would actually make me feel so much better. That people actually hear this message and they might believe my message. That I'm actually trying to do something for the community. Because so many people just see how bad I am as a Magic player, that I'm not like some pro level Magic player, the amount of mistakes that I made, the amount of quote unquote bad opinions that I have, and they don't see the good that I'm trying to do for the community. We need better reprints. We need faster reprints. We need reprints at a higher frequency. Why is that a bad take?